So Charles and Chris, thanks for joining me today. I suppose this is just like a little catch up after the year. And Charles, do you want to kick off? How's the year been?
I do. I mean, this is slightly a New Year message, Jonathan. It really is. I mean, and trying to wade through the doom, gloom, and fractured Christmas that we've all had, and look and gaze somewhere into the future, and base it very much on the very interesting areas that were unearthed in the latter part of last year. And I really did want to open up the idea of fishing for schools for a wider general public, and so they understand what we're about, what we do, how we go about our business, and everything else. Because I think even now, even after all these years, there's still a misunderstanding about what we're hoping to achieve and where we're supposed to be going. So I'd like to perhaps clarify some of those points.
Definitely. I know the Giving Tuesday that we had was a fantastic success, wasn't it? But obviously off the back of that, there has been comments and perhaps even a little bit of negativity about a misunderstanding of what Fishing for Schools does and where perhaps some of the funding goes. So I believe that there was, you wanted to almost clarify sort of a few of those points.
I really did. I'm going to jump in because what Giving Tuesday offered us was a much broader spectrum, a much broader picture than we'd probably done hitherto. And that being the case, we appeal to a much wider demographic, much wider audience than we've done up to now. And that actually opened up Pandora's box because people started to become very critical about what we did, where the money went, and rightfully so. And I believe any charity at all in the land should be absolutely transparent in what it does, what its ambitions are, and where the funding actually goes. Because, people are hard up at the moment. I know that for myself. And, I've got kids who are, well, they're not kids anymore, they're mini adults.
Yeah.
But, they're raising families, they've got mortgages, all the rest of it, and they're hard pressed. So when you get that fiver, or when you even get that quid, when you get more than that, you have got to justify it. You really got to justify it.
Definitely.
That's what I wanted to do with this recording, really.
Chris, you had some ideas. You've seen Fishing for Schools. You've seen how it benefits kids. How does that come across when people are donating and giving this hard-earned money? How does that come across to you?
Well, I think, if I'm honest, Jonathan, I think the mental health and the well-being of these kids I think that's what it helps. I mean, if ever I'm stressed out or I've had a tough week or whatever, if I go and spend a day on the river, it's a sanctuary for me, and I think it'll be exactly the same for the kids. So I think it's a fantastic cause. I think some people will look at why it costs so much, and I think I actually sponsor a charity called Children with Cancer on a regular basis. And I think because you see them children with an illness, I think a lot of people will give. But Fishing for Schools, it's not something what you can, I think it's the unknown. Do you know what I mean? People want to know where the money is going. And, why does it cost so much to take kids fishing? What's the benefits? The benefits that I've just mentioned here of mental health. I think if it's possible to be more transparent about that, then I think that would help the charity going forward.
Definitely. Charles, you got anything to say on that?
Well, I'm going to address all, if not, and go beyond those points. I mean, what we're supposed to do, and I just jump in here, the reason why the wonderful Chris Hague is on this is we were supposed to be up to our calves in the River Don, and
can I just say, Charles, if we'd have been there today, we would have been up to our neck in the river.
I know, we'll probably be on snorkels by now. And I really wanted to come into Yorkshire's heartland, and well, it's probably not its heartland, but at least it's a very significant part of Yorkshire, because A, we've got schools up there. B, I wanted to press home the fact that it's, Fishing for Schools isn't about a cosy rural ideal. It is about hardcore business of getting into inner cities and all the other areas that we need to be. We all know about the pleasantness of, where I live down here in Yeovil and just outside, and it's lovely and it's green and it's got lots of pasture and there's rivers, di-da. But that's not going to help a kid that is on the verge of going into gang activity. He's got the pressure of people trying to sell drugs to him, knife crime, everything else, all the pressures that, mercifully, when I grew up, and who's to say I ever grew up, actually, I wasn't privy to any of this. I didn't know what was going on when I was, secreted in school. This is an alien environment, and that's the environment we need to go into, address it full on. Don't dilly-dally around the edges. Let's go into these areas. I'm absolutely, this coming year, I want to see us a much bigger presence in the, when it's free to do so, obviously, into places like London, into places like Sheffield, Manchester, all these, Birmingham, where we're needed, where you mentioned about the need to give that pastoral care, that little tiny bit of angling softness that we know comes about through our sport, because it does mend and heal in places that are not visible. And that's the important thing. What we do is not visible, but what I would emphasize, and I would say this to both of you, it isn't just about the fishing. It really isn't. Our tagline is educating through angling. And that is it. Many of the kids that we actually teach or come onto the courses then go on to further education. They may, through our activity, have the stepping stone or the rung of the ladder that goes on to further education, and it might be the only qualification they get in their lives. Now, we know, all three of us, just how difficult the world is going to be when we come out of this abyss. It's not going to be a cuddly place. And if you haven't got skills, if you haven't got the wherewithal to make a difference in the world, or to have a job application that you can actually put down on paper, on computer, you are going to be in a very difficult place. And I'm not saying that Fishing for Schools can do all of that, not for one moment. But what I can say is we can aid the process. We really can. With that little connection with schools, with agencies, we can help. We've helped kids into art college. We've helped kids into further education in aquaculture. Basically, we want to be that stepping stone to a better learning process, but give them a sport for life. That's what we're about.
Definitely. And I think that in some respects has been achieved hundreds of times through the thousands and thousands of people who've already taken part in Fishing for Schools. I mean, judging from some of the posts that come back from other coaches around the country, we've seen kids on the fisheries courses and stuff like that, haven't we? And kids with, Asperger's and mental health who've really, really benefit. And it brings, fishing brings you down to earth, doesn't it?
To answer Chris's question, that not every illness or difficulty is visible. It's not. We're dealing, also we get venturing into the mental health aspect, especially in Kent, and working with Charlton athletic community to help them. So the width of what we do and what we try to offer is vast, and that's not often heard. We don't shout about it, we just get on and do it.
Can I just say, running a charity must be really, really tough at this moment in time.
But the odd sleepless night.
Yeah, I can believe it. But when you give into a charity, reflecting back on Children with Cancer, they'll send like a slice of cake out saying X amount goes into research, X amount goes into keeping families together. With your charity, Charles, I just wonder, where the expense goes. What's the cost of taking a child fishing? What's the cost of insurances? I'm just trying to put you on the spot so you can tell that to the people, so they realise, that it's heavy costing to take these children out there.
Well, it's interesting. We actually did that. In the Tuesday. Yeah, we actually said X amount takes a kid there, and that was really that set the cat amongst the proverbial
Yeah,
pigeons, because,
definitely.
you know, everybody went, well, I can take my kid for nothing. Well, yes, you can, if it's your kid.
Yeah.
Now, you've got to also think about the amount of young people and students and others that come onto our courses or come into their association with us, that are not in that happy situation. They haven't got mothers, they haven't got fathers. There's a unit that we work with in Dover, and it's a residential one, and not one of them has got a parent. That's 12 people without a parent. So we're trying to make a difference to people and give them something tangible in their lives, when society is just this great big black morass that they've fallen into by no reason other than just accident, and trying to make things better. So don't fall into the trap, this cozy notion of, oh, I'm just going to take my daughter or my son fishing. As lovely as that is, and I applaud that, the reality in many situations is you can't do that because there isn't another to take them to the places they want to go. And the other thing I would say is, not everyone wants to invest their time in their children or their significant others. And that's a very contentious statement, but it's true. The society that we're in now is a very different one than perhaps we all grew up in.
Definitely.
I remember my parents just giving everything to me so I had a better start in life. Now that paradigm has changed a little bit. I'm not saying in every situation, but I'm saying in some situations it has. And we want to be that bridge. Now, yes, it costs quite a bit of money to actually go into a school. Why? I pay the coaches. As lovely as volunteers are, and they're very important and a very important part of any structure in any charity, we've got to make sure that when we send a coach in, that they've gone through the various checks and balances that they must have in place in order to do a job. These people are absolutely brilliant. They're not just angling coaches, they're everything, because they've probably been teachers. They understand how a young mind works and what ensures their safety. That's the important thing. We've got to make sure that what we do is safe. So that, we've got to make sure that our coaches have gone through the checking system, the DBS checking system, that they have the necessary insurance in place. And unfortunately, the reality is none of that comes cheaply.
Right.
100%.
It's got to be paid. And as somebody made the point the other day, when your child goes in to be taught at school, they're being taught by a teacher. The teacher isn't doing it for nothing.
Exactly the same platform, essentially, isn't it?
The teacher's made a commitment. Now, I'm not saying, they're doing it for the money, far from it. What I'm saying is that they're a professional doing a professional job, looking to do and have a professional outcome. And that's precisely what I do, what I try to achieve. So there is a degree of professionalism, there's a degree of commitment, and that is it. If you're dealing with the voluntary sector, if somebody falls ill or something like that, then rightfully they want to go and be with that person. If I've got a whole bunch of school kids, I need someone to go in and look after them. I can't keep cancelling things or doing this. So that's why we've got a paid for coaching service.
Exactly. And I think the main thing were the costs that were coming out of it are small in comparison to what it costs to set up some of these other sort of organizational bodies.
We make absolutely certain that every bit of money is accounted for. We make sure we're as lean as we possibly can be, because don't forget there's admin. Now we offer, and that was the other thing, why does it cost so much? Well, it doesn't to the school, it's free of charge. For 4 sessions it's free of charge. So how does that manifest itself to being free of charge? And why is it 160 quid? Well, it's absorbed in the coaching fees and the coaching costs, the admin costs. Now, there's that horrid word attached to charities, admin. But when you think we've got one person applying to all sorts of areas to make sure we've got a funding stream, that admin is very, very little indeed. And you know, the end result is that there's a lot of people doing a lot of work for a lot of hours over their allotted amount to make sure that we are operational in schools. Now, of course, at the moment, people are going to say, well, how can you be operational? You know, so, you know, you can't go into schools. Well, absolutely, we can't. But that's not stopping us, because we're actually looking at ways in order to do the various courses that we do, the cast awards and so forth, that through IT, through media channels, so we keep the door open for a time when we can get back in. And again, it takes up funding, unfortunately.
Yeah, you're diversifying in these tough times. I can see that. That's what you're trying to do.
Chris, you have to. You can't stand still. I mean, you know, if anyone had told me that we'd be having a Zoom conversation, I wouldn't even know. I mean, the Zoom for me was something the Commodores did actually on a record. But I thought I'd have to put that in. But you know, that's the thing, that it's driven all of us to be far more technologically minded and embrace it.
Yeah, and we obviously we're in really tough times, and like I mentioned before, running a charity must be a nightmare. But where do you see yourself being in 12 months? I know it's a difficult question.
Crikey! I mean, I hope we're back to where we were, obviously. But
Yeah.
I think we're going to be stronger. I think we're going to have more facets to us than we had before. I think we've got a very, very hardcore group of coaches that have stayed absolutely loyal to Fishing for Schools. But the important thing, and I can't really say anything at the moment, but we've had very interesting discussion with a very major player in the tackle company, and I think that wouldn't have come about had it not been for Giving Tuesday. And I'm looking for a very bright future indeed. I'm looking around trying to choose my words very carefully. I don't want to let any cats out of the bag, but we've got a very, very intriguing way of operating in the future, which will probably shake a few people to the foundations. And the other thing I want to do 12 months hence, 6 months hence, is embrace the sea, because at the moment we're doing quite a lot of game fishing. We're doing a majority of what we do is course fishing, and we're surrounded by sea.
Yeah.
I see absolutely no reason why we shouldn't be doing that. Risk assessments. There's another one I didn't mention. You know, who does your risk assessments? Nowadays, you cannot go out and you cannot move in the area and the genre we're in without a risk assessment.
Definitely.
Yeah.
You know, someone's got to do that. So
that's the world we live in, unfortunately.
Well, isn't it? I mean, Chris, you'll know that from being a coach. I mean, you will need to do and have your risk assessment absolutely nailed down. And can you imagine what it's like with 12 or 14 young people?
Yeah.
You know, it's different.
I think you've highlighted most of the key points there, Charles. So, I mean, is there anything else you want to sort of say to people before you sign off?
Fishing for Schools is not going anywhere. It's going to scale up. I'm looking to go not just in this country, but go much further afield. I believe it can be. And we've got some very exciting projects around on the corner that will make us the preeminent educationally based angling organisation in the country. And that's my aim for 21. And it's achievable.
Perfect.
Good.
Lovely.
Well, I'd like to wish you all the best with it, guys. It sounds like a great charity and a great cause.
Chris, thank you. And I wished we had done this interview in the middle of the Don, because I really want to fish there.
We'll do it in 2021. We'll welcome you up to God's country again.
Okay. All right. As long as I'm allowed through. I've got my passport ready. The usual.
Yeah, there's border patrols on the Yorkshire, border still. No, thank you, Charles, and thanks, Chris.
Thank you, Chris.
Wish you all a Merry Christmas, and we'll see you in January.
Yeah, all the best, everybody.
Take care. Bye.
Thank you.